Now let's ask the Klay question. What do you want to see the Warriors do, and what do you think is more likely that happens with Klay Thompson?
I think the league is always like a "what did you do for me yesterday" type league. I think that's why Jordan Poole maybe, his value. We weren't allowed to trade. We couldn't trade Jordan Poole for his what we may have believed to be his value, even though he's kind of had a stinker of a Wizard season. It hasn't been awful, but I think people saw that he was underwhelming in the Lakers series. He got benched a lot, and that kind of became his trade value. I think Kuminga, in a similar way, not being able to play the playoffs last year, tanked his trade value at the time. Now I think it's back up, but I think this league is very like, what did you do for me yesterday? And so I think Klay
is it back up though? Sorry to cut you off. Is it back up after Steve Kerr is just like, can he play the three? I don't know. He's got to get better at decision making. He's like he kind of tanked his trade value at the end. Like I almost wonder if that was done purposely, like to just go, I know you're going to get a big deal. It's probably the worst thing that can happen to you mentally because you'll think you've made it. Here are the things that you desperately need to work on.
Maybe. I still think it's up because he showed flashes in that Kings game where he scores 3 straight buckets in the mid-range, but then freaking Alex Len and Sabonis just take 2 steps out from the paint, and they're like, okay, we're going to take away the mid-range, and he's absolutely neutralized again, just like he was the year before, where he tries to dunk on Alex Len, gets absolutely stuffed, and then just gets put to the bench for the rest of the series. Yeah. Same thing happened this time, where they're like, okay, we're just going to take away the paint from you, Kuminga, and he's like, okay, I'm going to shoot mid-rangers, and they're like, okay, we're going to take 1 step forward and take away your mid-range. He's like, okay, I'm going to try to shoot 3-pointers now, and it was done for him. But again, like Klay had a very terrible year. Seems like on plus minus, I keep seeing MT say like, that actually might be in
their favor
because he's not gonna, be as sought out after as maybe they thought, with Orlando looking, maybe the Lakers were looking.
Did you watch the Orlando Cleveland game?
Yeah, it was a tough watch.
That was a tough watch. And Orlando needs shooting desperately. I was like, oh no, they need him. Like really,
yeah.
The other team that, like, because I was just thinking of teams who you're long enough and you're athletic enough to make up for Klay's deficiency defensively. Orlando is definitely one of those teams because they just have a lot of young guys who can run around. And same with OKC. I don't know if he necessarily fits on OKC, but you could see like Klay's going to be a 0 on defense. Who do you have around you that could make up for his defensive deficiency just so he could hit open jumpers for you guys? And those two teams came to mind. I mean, Cleveland similarly had the problem where they could not make 3-pointers as well. But Donovan Mitchell was just when he decided that he was just going to attack, I thought that was the difference in the game. But yeah, no. So keep going. And I have a Logan Murdoch statement after this. Okay. I don't know if you heard him on Bill.
No, I didn't.
Kind of add to your point.
I just think that at the end of the day, like, I think it's just going to come down to how much money is Klay willing to not take from a different team to re-sign with the Warriors. I think he's favoring to re-sign with the Warriors. But like, if it's like a $2 to $5 million difference from the other team that's offering him, like, I still think he stays with the Warriors. I think he'd take that kind of pay cut. But if it starts to get to like $10 million a year that he's like sacrificing to be on the Warriors, then I think we're gonna have different conversations. But that's why I think him going 0 for 10 in the play-in game might not have those plus $10 million offers. I don't know exactly what the Warriors would offer him, but at the end of the day, like, we're all human. We all are comfortable. We all get comfortable. We all get comfortable with familiarity. And you're talking about a guy who has been in the same general location. I know Oakland and San Francisco, but the general location for his entire career, which is plus 10 years. You are talking about a guy who boats to work. That is his means of transportation. He commutes to work via boat. He, they were saying in plus minus, like, him just being able to kind of say F you to reporters, like, he can kind of only get away with that in a place where he's accomplished so much. And like, if he goes to a new place, maybe they don't, like to see him do that after a bad game, because like, you haven't shown us anything. You aren't like Paolo Banchero, who's, been our guy. So I think there's just so many things, like, especially when you go to a new place, you got to make new friends. You got to get a new place. You got to, prove yourself, which is probably like the one that I'd be fearful the most for Klay. Not that he wouldn't prove himself, but just that, he's done it here and he hasn't been that great lately, but we still kind of hold that regard for him. We're like, you could still get away with whatever. You could still do whatever. Like we still got you. So I think at the end of the day, like, he is going to be returning in a Warriors uniform as long as though someone doesn't actually overpay him.
Okay, so the rumor, and they mentioned this on Logan Murdoch was on Bill Simmons. He turned down a 2 for 48 before the season started.
Wow.
Does the 2 for 48 still exist?
No, it does not.
Is it 2 for 40?
That's $20 million a year. I think he's 18.
Is it 3 for 52? I'm trying to figure out, what does the bidding even start at? Like, because we heard early in the season that he was going to that he was just unhappy with the offer, right? It was like, oh, Klay is unhappy with the offer. So I just assumed that it was like a super low offer, and 2 for 48, while the years is not fantastic, $24 million a year to play basketball after what they've already paid him to not play basketball and to play below what his market value was. That seems like easy money to me. Now, to go back to your point, maybe the familiarity, the comfortableness, the ability to do all of the things that you want, maybe that stops him from reinventing himself for one more year. Maybe the unfamiliarity of a new place, of fitting in, of having to be absolutely the best of your capability, or else the flip side is the uneasiness with the fan base. Maybe that is actually what he needs to be his best self. I'm not sure. Like, it would be interesting to ask somebody like Ray Allen, who didn't have the injuries that Klay had, but did move near the end of his career, right? Because he saw, oh, like Boston, like that's the old and busted. Miami's the new hotness. I'm going to Miami. And he reinvented himself and had several more years of high quality play.
I just think it's different here when it's like, maybe it's different if Paul Pierce and KG never got traded and he gets to rock with his guys. It's still not apples to apples, but I'm trying to think of like other comparisons where.
But
like
he left before they left, though. Like that's why they all hate him, is because Rajon and Paul and KG, they thought that he jumped ship to go to the enemy and left them hanging.
That's true. I don't think there's like an entirely apples to apples comparison here, like not even that one, because they didn't play with each other for 10 plus years. Like this is like brotherhood. This is like family. So like I don't know, and I guess we'll see, but I still think he'll show up in a Golden State uniform. That would be my prediction. However, if we hear reports to start the free agency that someone's going to actually overpay him, like again, I think he like within the $7 million or less type of range, like I think he would probably take that type of pay cut to stay with the Warriors. 7 kind of seems like a lot. Maybe it's like 6 or 5 difference in a team that wants to pay him $6 million more versus the Warriors. I think he might still go with the Warriors, but if it's anything more than that, like I wouldn't blame him.
Okay, here's the Logan Murdoch. Very similar reasoning to what you just said. But what he said is Klay has a relationship with the franchise that allows him to be Klay.
That's what Plus Minus said too.
Yeah, it's not just the reporters, it's not just the fan base necessarily. It's also with the team, and they said this about Draymond as well. Draymond, Draymond's ability to network even within the team is important to him. And so when you have Steph on your side, when you have Draymond on your side, who's a big influence, even if, I sort of blame Draymond for this season as well as he played on the court.
Mm-hmm.
They left 4 or 5 wins out there because of his nonsense.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the difference between the play-in and not the play-in. So, and just for Klay, the ability to be Klay, they accept him for his personality, right? The expectation for him as a star, when you can play a little bit in Steph's shadow, he doesn't have the same media priorities. He doesn't have the same marketing priorities. He's on the Anta brand, right? He's not the face of Under Armour. So all of those reasons is also why Logan thought that the Warriors would just make sure that he's comfortable and he would stick around again. To me, I think it'd have to be in a bench role.